budget of the Modi 3.0 government. As suspense over the tax slab persists, all eyes are on the budget allocation for the defence, infra, development space, key central schemes and for women and for farmers. Attention is also on the burgeoning sectors such as artificial intelligence, semiconductors and renewable sources of energy. Just last week, the IMF raised its projection of growth in India's gross domestic product for the year 2024 to 2025 by 20 basis points to 7%. Ahead of the budget 2024 session, the forecast for growth of India has been revised upward, reaffirming India's position as a global economic bright spot. Now with this, we ask, what's needed to propel the India's economy to achieve a 10% growth rate? Now my colleague Priya is going to explain about the IMF projections that she has with more details.
Indeed, let's in fact take a look at some of the data that we've collated for all of you over the last few years. This here is a line graph showcasing India's economic growth over the last decade or so. In 2016, our growth rate was 8.26, but it's been dipping since then till around 2020. So it went down to nearly 7%, from there to 3%, and from there to in 2020 when the pandemic was raging across the world to minus 5.83. So this was the lowest point that we've been at, but India of course bounced back like never before. In 2021 we recorded a 9.05% growth rate, and since then the IMF has termed us, as you've stated earlier, a global economic bright spot. Growth rate has been slightly stable ever since then. 2022 recorded a 7% growth rate, 2023 recorded a 7.2% growth rate, and we've recorded an 8.2% growth rate in 2024 up till now. And the IMF, of course, has come out revising its projections. Earlier, it had stated that India would register around a 6.5% growth rate, but last week itself, the IMF has come out. Geeta Gopinath has said that India's growth projections have been revised to 7%, indicating the robustness of the Indian economy. Of course, a key focus is on the manufacturing sector and other burgeoning sectors such as semiconductors, AI, space, and other technologies that are coming about as well in the digital realm in particular. So that's all we have as far as giving the hard stats, the hard numbers are concerned. Back to you, Simran, to take the conversation across to our guests.
Well, yes, thank you, Pia, with all these detailed figures for putting this in perspective. Now joining us at this moment is a senior economist, Mr. Akash Jindal. We appreciate you joining, sir, at this point, as our colleague has also detailed and broken down the figures of the IMF. What do you think about the expectations of the budget as we go forward? And of course, there are many hopes that have been also tied for the tax slabs. But in particular, what are going to be the key highlights that an Aam Aadmi can also expect?
Start from the GDP growth. Yes, GDP growth wise for 2023-24, we had 8.2% GDP growth, which is clearly fastest GDP growth amongst bigger economies. Now, all the four big economies, which are bigger than us, US, China, Germany, Japan, they are much, much behind us. So it's clear that India is clearly and surely the fastest growing economy amongst biggest economies. And now that's also going to continue in 2024-25 also. You have projected 7%. According to me, it could be even higher than 7.5%. Now, when we talk about budget, this budget is going to be a much, much better budget than the earlier budgets, because government, if I talk in cricketing languages, is on a batting pitch. Why so? Because RBI has given a whopping dividend of 2.1 lakh crore to the government. So government has money. Now, tax collection also has been very good. If we talk about April 2024, GST collection, we had a huge GST collection, a wonderful GST collection, gross GST collection of 2.1 lakh crore. Similarly, income tax collection also has been high. Deficit is okay. So what I mean to say in simple terms is that the government this time has money up to a certain extent to fulfill people's promises, people's expectations or aspirations, I would say that would be the better word. Now, the analysis of my organization, Akashindal.in, tells, firstly, the basic exemption limit for income tax, which is generally referred as slab, though slab is not the right word, I think there's going to be an increment of 1.5 lakh rupees. That's what my expectation is. Now, 1.5 lakh rupees, if it happens, it would bring cheers on the face of Aam Aadmi, the common man. Plus, for females, there could be a higher additional 50,000 rupees additional exemption, and for salaried employees, there could be additional 25,000 increment in standard deduction. Now, after that, 80C is a very important section. It consists of many investments. Housing finance is something which is of great importance to this government and to the people, because this government has a target of giving houses to everyone, housing for everyone. This is the mantra of Modi government, and this is a very noble and a very practical concept. So I think housing finance, there would be a lot of concessions. Firstly, housing finance principal component, I think there's going to be 50,000 additional exemption. That's what my expectation is. Plus, housing finance, the interest payment, that comes under section 24B. There I expect 1 lakh rupees standalone additional exemption. So that would mean that it would be much more easier for people to buy houses. All those people who don't have houses, they would be motivated to buy houses. Thirdly, what I expect is health insurance, which we generally call as Mediclaim. Now, health insurance, what happens? Corona has already taught us, Simran. Corona showed us that there are diseases where the medical expenses could be as high, 25 lakh, 30 lakhs. So I think additional coverage is required. So I expect a 15,000 additional exemption as far as health insurance or Mediclaim is concerned. Now, if you come to other sectors, infrastructure, this government has always been positive on infrastructure, and that's how we have reached the fastest growing economy. That's how we have become the fifth.
Yes, all right, Mr. Jindal. Thank you with all these perspectives and definitely throwing light on the key expectations from the budget of 2024, which is the much anticipated topic.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.